into the We Are One Coalition's Tier 2 pension bill that was pushed out very late. And Pat Devaney with the AFL-CIO was very adamant that they felt good that they were going to get this passed in the final days, and then it never made it out of executive committee. So going off what Kristen said, even though that bill did not advance, that is something that's not going away. For those in the audience, if you are Tier 2 or if you know of Tier 2 people, and I've talked to ones in this group and I've talked to teachers, they know that there is a serious recruitment and retention problem, and sooner or later this is going to have to be reconciled. So although SUAA was not taking positions on the equitable funding model or the four-year baccalaureate degree, we are vested in seeing Tier 2 pension reforms pass. We have had We Are One Coalition join us on our amicus brief. We look forward to continuing to work with them in the future and making inroads with more and more legislators, which I think we're doing a very good job with, and I'm going to have Matt speak in a moment. It's not just going to be just me. I'm going to let our legislative committee introduce themselves. But we continue to make inroads. We continue to make progress informing the legislature about these issues. I was speaking to someone here the other day, and as much as people go into office with the cause that they're really concerned with, whether it's education or criminal justice reform or agriculture, they don't know about all these issues, and we're talking about legislation that was passed in 2010. I think we have 4 members of the legislature who were around back then, and so many folks today just don't know about these issues. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more later about the inroads we've made with legislators, and a bigger part of this presentation, or what I'd like to have us discuss, and I know the gentlemen at this table have a lot of good advice to offer, is how you in the audience in your chapters can make inroads with legislators and to bring these issues to the forefront, whether it's meeting with them in person or meeting with them virtually. So I'm going to toy around over here for a bit to see if I can't bring up our legislative tracking center, which I'd like to show everyone later. So if I can, great. But in the meantime, why don't we have the gentleman over here just introduce yourselves and any thoughts you have about the spring legislative session, and we'll discuss more kind of the stuff on SUAA's agenda. But why don't we get started with some introductions and thoughts about the spring session.
Good morning. My name is Keith Becker. Currently serving as the co-chair of the Legislative Committee here. I've been a member of SUAA for probably approximately 15 years, so excited to step into this role, to really learn from some of the experts that we have here, from our members as far as those issues that are important to us moving forward with the legislator. But I do want to take one opportunity to really thank Thomas and Matt and Brian. As I've gotten to this role, I always appreciate the work that they've done, but as I've gotten into it more, I have a greater understanding and respect, and I just want to relay that like they're doing such a great job for us. I know we talked about the Tier 2 reform that's pushing through the legislature, and yes, there's a lot of great work by the We Are One Coalition, but and I'll share this in my legislative report, but Representative Hoffman, who's leading that working group, like he had a meeting with Matt Maloney and Thomas and Brian, right? Like, so we do have our voices being heard. We do have that seat at the table. So yes, the We Are One Coalition is a big part of that. But I want to let this group know too, like we are as well too, right? So our voice is being heard. So I think they're too humble sometimes to state that, but please know that they are working very well for us.
We're not able to hear the non-mic'd people all the way back here, please.
Okay, the political landscape this year is the legislature knew they were going to be bracing for a more difficult budget. So the budget estimates were it was going to be about $500 million down from last year. The governor gave his address in February. There was discrepancies on that. So there was concern in terms of just as a starting point, revenues were going to be down. And there's a lot of fixed costs that are rising. Healthcare costs, contracts have built-in raises, things like that. But this was before any federal action was taken that, all right, it was going to be a difficult year. And then there was I should remember the exact date, but when the federal memo about spending freezes, things like that, it was an odd game in Capitol. It was quiet and everyone was on their phones. And they were just trying to talk to clients like, this is federal, it severely impacts state. We don't know what we can do right now, but let's gather more information. And that was one of the reasons we recruited the Attorney General's office to come in here yesterday, is because they did several lawsuits on all of these spending items that have had an impact. So for example, the dismantling of the Department of Education, there's a temporary restraining or temporary injunction in terms of from that happening. So that in the federal, those fears are very real, and everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen. So that kind of, I don't want to say scared the legislature in terms of like taking these things seriously, but also an eye towards everything in the budget. The governor said if you're going to have any new spending items, you better have a way to fund those items. So that was the mentality going at the outset. Now, last year he told the General Assembly, he gave a budget address, and he said we need to cut $700 million. They ended up spending several hundred million more. So I believe it was 91%. It's not exact, but this is hearsay, so it's probably true. It's like if you read something on the internet. That 91% of the legislators have never voted on a budget that's had to make cuts. So they're, many of them came in office with Governor Pritzker. So that was after Rauner. So after coming in after Rauner, everyone looks great. So they're not used to making cuts, not used to making hard decisions. But also, there's been a loss of staff, and I can't overestimate how much of an impact that also has at the different caucuses. In particular, the House Democrats. They had a new chief of staff. They lost 3 of their top directors in legal counsel, and that institutional knowledge isn't there. It used to be a time like if you had a healthcare issue, you talk to this one staffer, and they're like, oh, 23 years ago this was tried, and that institutional knowledge isn't there. So the General Assembly, the budget was passed, kind of holding their nose. And there was fund sweeps that were taken. There was some taxes on companies that do business out of the country. There was raising taxes on gaming, on sports gaming. There wasn't, as the governor said, he didn't want any broad-based taxes, no service taxes. But at the end of the day, Senate President Harman said, we will reconvene when the world wants us to reconvene. So that has been weighing on him. It was really on some substantive issues. It seemed like it was hard to get the attention of legislators because that was just, it's hard to deal with budget when it's an unknown. In education alone, they get $3.1 billion in federal money. That's for Title I schools, transportation special ed, $3.1 billion. And that is, it's unknown as far as what those cuts are going to look like in the future. Medicaid cuts. If the Medicaid expansion program, there's a trigger in there where if the federal level drops to a certain level, the program ends. And for those, if that happens, there's automatically 700,000 people without health insurance. So these are very emotional issues weighing on the legislators. And the state doesn't have the money to make up the difference in these items. So it's going to be a very difficult time to budget in the future, especially after this happens. I've got lots more good news. But one of the things that I say all this, so there were 6,481 bills introduced this year, but these items are weighing on everyone. and we're competing to get their attention. And I think we did a very good job this year in terms of getting in front of the relevant stakeholders for our issues. So we regularly would meet with Representative Kifowit and Senator Martin, the chairs of the Pension Committee. Regular dialogue with Representative Jay Hoffman, who is the chair of the House Working Group on Pensions. Talking to Representative Manley about the healthcare availability and access issues, about healthcare issues. So it's us getting in front of them, but in Springfield, they're not just having regular meetings, they're having very emotional meetings, and that takes a toll on them. So when we can have meetings in the district with them, you have their attention, you have their focus, you have more time with them. There was an issue I talked to my senator about last year, and he's like, I'm not hearing about it. He said, if I don't hear about it, I don't necessarily know that it's a problem, because if there's all these bigger issues. So whether it's your health care or different pension issues, squeaky wheel is definitely gets the attention, but also so many of these legislators, I think it was 50% have 7 years or less in terms of their tenure, and they don't have the institutional knowledge. So meet with them, give them your background, tell them your issues, and you don't have to be an issue expert. Whenever anyone meets with a legislator, I tell them, try to do two things: localize and personalize. So localize, how does this affect their community? And that could be the school itself or the community of retirees that they represent. And personalize, give them an example of a human story of how it impacts them. So they may not remember all the stats, but they can remember that story that made them feel. You know, in terms of, listen, these tier 2 issues are a problem. We weren't able to fill these vacancies, and this is the impact that we're having. Or so, you know, in terms of the healthcare, the pains that everyone are going through with different shifts in coverage or who's accepting the insurance, things like that. Personalize that in terms of not just the abstract, but I had a knee replacement scheduled for January. I mean, this is an example that we heard. And the hospital system hadn't renewed their contract yet. So they were waiting, and you know, they're getting notices from the hospital. We may not have coverage for you. This may not happen. This is a procedure you've been waiting for and needing. That's a lot of anxiety. And for most of those, the contracts ended up getting written and completed, but that personalized, that showed them, you know, it's real. These issues are real to them. So in terms of the future, we are absolutely here to help. If there's someone you're trying to get to, you're not answering, or we can help out with that. If you want some coaching on what issues, but I had a group in Springfield this year, and they, right after committee, they were talking to their legislator, and I had to leave. I came back and said, how did your discussion go? She's a real person. So legislators recognize they're dealing with a lot of issues, but again, it's not a problem if I don't know it's a problem. So I certainly highly recommend speak up. And also, if you have something going on at your school, in your community, with your chapter, invite them. You have served their community for a long time, and they appreciate that. And also, you know, it's nice to meet someone when you don't have a hard ask right then, but you have a relationship with them. They appreciate that as well. So I'll turn it over to Thomas.
Thank you.
Just to echo Matt's point, you know, he has a lot more experience with this than I do. But yes, it is true that these are real people, the legislators, some of them more real than others, some of them more accessible than others. But they really do want to hear from their constituents. And to Matt's point about stories and things getting emotional, whether it dealt with us or not, when it's those final days of session, I mean, you're just glued into watching ILGA's live streams, and I might bring that up so you know where you can find how to watch the House and Senate floors. And whether you feel one way or the other about it, there was a discussion about this assisted suicide bill. nobody on the floor is bringing up statistics, whether they support it or not. They're telling stories, and it does get very emotional, as Matt said. And so that's what the legislators are more interested in hearing about from their constituents. Yes, numbers matter, but it's the people in their district and how they're affected. It's one of the reasons why we will be pursuing, as Matt alluded to, my mother calling, "Hey Mom, I'm sorry, be proud of your son." Hey Mom, I'm addressing about 80 people right now at our annual meeting, so I will give you a call back when I'm done.
Good son. Good son.
In terms of stories, one of the issues I know that is on our agenda, and Matt just discussed it a second ago, is healthcare and the trail plan. I know a lot of our members are very happy with their Medicare Advantage plan. I know maybe about a third of them are not, and we've received quite a few. I don't know what you say, dispiriting, but depressing stories about people being denied coverage. It's seemingly every year that as we approach, December, it's the last minute that an agreement is reached between Aetna and these hospital systems, particularly up in Chicago. And I know that there were two systems, one in Western Illinois, and I think in Southwest, that dropped Aetna. So Matt and I had just spoke to Representative Natalie Manley's staffer about 8 days ago. We are setting up a subject matter hearing, we believe, for July 29th to discuss some of the issues that our members are facing. So we hope that not only will we have Betty Zedick, who spoke yesterday about healthcare issues, she'll be there, but we will be using some of these stories that our members have sent in. I mean, I just received another one yesterday about a member of ours in Minnesota reiterating how Mayo Clinic does not accept, maybe you did not know this, but Mayo Clinic does not accept the Medicare Advantage plan offered by the state. And there we go. Wow. Yes, and I did not know as many of our members there were that were relying on Mayo Clinic for help until this issue came up a couple of years ago. So we are going to be trying to inform, yes, members of the legislature about this issue. As well as, I know Governor Pritzker proposed a 3% increase in higher education funding. We got about 1%. So we're going to need, we want to hear the stories from our members about how that's going to be affecting their local institutions. And certainly when it comes to Tier 2, about the problems you're seeing with recruitment and retention.
Yeah, regarding this healthcare availability and access subject matter hearing. So our approach in working with Representative Manley is to engage stakeholders to give input, and we want to fix the process because it's not working right now. So the goal of this is not to point fingers, point blame, and then say, well, someone has to write the check. But also, if we reach out to you and you have a story to share, we're going to ask you, but also to contact your legislator. Hey, this is an issue that we want dealt with. And again, please look into this issue. It's not saying we want a solution today and you have to write the check for it. It's building that relationship that we want to be a part of this process to help. But also from some of these legislators, if they don't, we could say we received 10 letters from your constituents, but if they're not seeing that as well, it doesn't have that same sense of urgency.
I was going to ask, I wanted to start getting into some of the ways to reach out to legislators. Before I do that, I was going to ask, well, Keith and Bob, and I don't care what order, but well, Keith, why don't you, Keith, you've been very active with your chapter, and you've made quite a few connections with your local legislators, and now you yourself as an elected official. Would you have any words of advice about approaching a legislator and discussing some issues?
Sure.
And building those relationships?
Yes, thank you. So, as Thomas alluded to, and Matt also mentioned, I think that localized, personalized approach really goes a long way. Sorry. I'm usually not used to the mic, sorry. But some of the ways that the SIUE chapter has engaged our legislators, when we have our chapter meetings, usually try and do it twice a year, we've invited them, kind of explaining to them kind of what we do, who we are, and we've been very intentional about making sure that we're inviting representatives from both sides of the aisle, right? In some districts that may not be possible, but I think that's an important approach to make sure that we understand we're a nonpartisan group. So having those legislators attend our chapter meetings has been very good for us to establish those relationships. Another one, and again, I'm going to give a shout out here to SIUE for making the NCAA tournament for the first time in our history. And so that was a very big opportunity for our institution to get some exposure and really celebrate the university. We are very fortunate to have in our local area Senator Christopher Belt, who's an SIUE alum, serves on the Higher Education Committee. Representative Katie Stewart, who's in a leadership position, House Leader and Floor Whip, I believe, Chair of Higher Education Committee, Senator Erica Harris, who previously served on the Pensions Committee, all SIUE alum, as well as Representative Schmidt, who was unable to attend. But we just invited them and said, we're going to have a little watch party, right, as they announced the brackets. And the legislators were so appreciative, and they asked for their families to come, and we got them VIP seats on the floor with the coaches, and the amount of stuff that they put on their social media and sent out through their weekly newsletters was significant, right? That was a relationship opportunity. We weren't going in with a hard ask, et cetera, and so just those type of opportunities to celebrate with them really kind of gained us a lot of traction, a lot of great opportunity to further engage in that. And then most recently, yesterday, right, and I think some of these things, I mentioned Senator Harris, who took the lead on the Senate side to be the primary sponsor for the CSRS Appreciation Day. That really came about because we had that relationship with her. In one meeting, she disclosed her father previously was an instructor at the School of Dental Medicine, right? So that was a cause that was near and dear, right? That's not on her bio. That's not something she talks about. But for us, that was another inroad of understanding, hey, here's our causes, right? And so obviously Senator Harris took that up on the Senate side, Representative Kifowit on the House side, and then the day before, so on the 12th, Thursday, I reached out to Senator Harris and said, hey, would you be okay if 3 or 4 of our members came to the district office, got a quick photo op, we put it on our social media, share it with our members, and they were ecstatic, and it kind of took on a life of its own in a good way. They invited us for a little reception. We sent out to all of our members. Their media team came out. We got press in the local media as well. And it was just kind of a good opportunity to reconnect with that. So again, just going to the district and having those conversations, opportunities. Again, I would still encourage any of those, with the CSRS Retiree Appreciation. We had a number of co-sponsors sign on that. I think Representative Chung from this district, right?
Yeah.
Signed on, right, from Illinois State. I know Illinois State chapter is very vibrant, but just a quick call or email to the office saying that, really appreciate the recognition and acknowledgement for that resolution. I think further opens the opportunities down the road when Matt said, when there is the ask, right, that they're going to be at least willing to take that call or have that meeting with you. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, yes, from our standpoint, yes, Matt and I are at the Capitol, but it is so helpful if they see us and they go, oh yes, I just spoke to your SUAA chapter at Joliet Junior Community College or at Rock Valley College or wherever. It's important that connection is made. What we have, we want everybody to have we have 53 chapters if you were at trivia last night. But we want to make sure that, we do have a unified voice on these issues. So, here's our SUAA website. We have our legislative platform here. This is the 2025. Of course, it'll be updated later on, but this is going into how we feel about Tier 1, healthcare benefits, Tier 2, and we have these talking points here available for you. I don't believe we sent it out to every member, but I do believe chapter officers also received our Tier 2 toolkit. Again, try to say that one fast. And that it contained our amicus brief that we filed, that also has our editorial with the Chicago Tribune that I believe our UIC chapter submitted. We have other talking points about Tier 2. So if you do need something, hey, I got to talk to a legislator about this, what do I do? These are available whether they're on our website or if your chapter officers have them. And it should be printed off. Yeah.
And again, on the $75 million in the budget on Tier 2, and we'll probably have to update the toolkit to include this. As Kristen stated, and as Eric Madeir stated, it doesn't function. And Eric Madeir, I don't know if anyone heard his talk yesterday. He's the one that filed the amicus brief. He said the $75 million is a fire extinguisher, and Tier 2 is an open flame on a gas stove, and there's a can of gas that's tilting towards the gasoline. So it's not fixing the problem. It's just looks nice.
Yes, so we will have to be updating as we go forward. I think all of you, I hope all of you, just about all of you, should have received a text yesterday about the trivia that was going on. That is a new feature that we have through a company called Policy Engage. So going forward, whether it's at your chapter level or it's from the state level, we now have a faster way to bring a call to action to members, and we can also submit a website link in here. Hey, your pensions are under threat. Click this link to sign this petition. We have ways to reach folks now through texting. We also, through Policy Engage, have our Legislative Tracking Center. So if you're ever wondering, what is it that Matt and Thomas and Brian and the Legislative Committee, what are they following? Oh, there we go. It just took a one. I think Matt said there were 6,500 bills that were introduced. We're not going to go through all 6,500. We don't track all 6,500. But if we look at SB 13 here, this was the Equitable University Funding Bill. And so if you wanted to check on the status, you can go to the SUAA website. You can log in. Actually, you don't need to log in. This is just taking a little slow with our Marriott Wi-Fi. But if you're curious, who's sponsoring this? You can see. So if it's your senator, you're going to know if this is something that you felt, I know SUAA didn't take a position on this, but something else. You're going to know if your local legislature took a position and sponsored that bill. You can see the most recent, oh, gee, what is this? This is sensitive. Oh, the resolution? Yeah, let's do that. Let's go bring up SR 112. Service Retiree Appreciation Day. Oh, sponsors, yeah. This was a good exercise because, as I said earlier, I was new, and so we went to Representative Stephanie Kiffel with this resolution. She's like, oh yeah, I'll just bring it up on the House floor and pass it. I'm like, no. We need Thomas to meet with people and actually talk to folks, so can you just let him do that job? And it was the same with the Senate resolution. But so yes, here obviously we talked to Erica Harris, but this was a good opportunity to meet with Chris Balkema, who's on the Senate Pensions Committee, Michael Halpin, who's been good with us. He's out in Western Illinois, Quad Cities, and Sally Turner, who covers, I think, parts of Springfield and Lincoln, Illinois. And you can see where it was assigned, which committees, and all the latest action. So if you're curious, where is this bill I care about or SUAA cares about? Where is it proceeding? You can see all of that now. And it's updated on a daily basis. We also have committees that we've entered in here, so you can follow along. So we've got, well, this is all of them, but you can follow around what's going on with the different committees that you're going to care about, mainly, let's say, higher education pensions. And if you have not been to ILGA, IllinoisGeneralAssembly.gov, this is where you can watch the live proceedings on the House. So this is what Matt and I, and surprised us, Keith stayed up for 72 hours straight. He was so diligent and thorough, we joked, it's like, hey, let's go grab a beer. Keith's got this. He's going to tell us everything that's going on. So in between, I think, a hockey game, Keith also had this on. And this is where you can watch the House floor. You're not going to see anything here right now, but it's going to say watch the House floor. It's going to show tune in to committee room 118, where higher education is meeting.
Which will be scheduled to start at 3 o'clock, and then at 4:15, you're like, why hasn't it started yet? Welcome to the legislature.
Yeah, it should. It was towards the end of it. Yeah, you get there and you wait, and you walk in, and like the lights are off. It's supposed to start at 3, and you're sitting there in the dark, and thankfully someone else walks in. You're like, okay, so I'm not wrong here. And then I know my father in the back. He's so thankful he doesn't have to go down to the Capitol anymore. He'd show up at 3 o'clock and wait till 6 o'clock for that 5-minute meeting. Hey, everybody cool with this resolution? Yeah, all right. 6-0, we're out. Dick Simpson is a member of the Legislative Committee. He's not here today. Something that Dick and the UIC chapter have pioneered are Zoom meetings with legislators. Again, you can contact their district office and get something set up. The state office is happy to help you. I would say that this is something that if you have a healthy presence with your chapter, meaning you could get 10, 15 people to join, not that 10, 15 people all need to speak. Maybe you have 1, 2, 3 speakers, and the rest are going to, write questions there in the chat box. But this is also a helpful way that's very convenient. If you're not having a chapter get together, and you got enough people that are going, hey, we want to talk to, I think UIC talked to Ann Williams. I can't remember the other legislature right now. But they also talked to Raja Krishnamurthy on the federal level. Now, again, we're not necessarily involved so much in federal levels, but when you talk about the rare ones that we are, the windfall elimination provision, that is very helpful to bring that attention to those members. And we at the state office, if you need us to help facilitating a Zoom meeting or whatever virtual platform you want, we can help do that. We can contact your members, through their emails. We can provide them with the link. And having attended those, I think the members are very appreciative to have that time, because they want to meet as many people as they can. And they can't always, be in a physical location. So if you can set up a Zoom meeting, that would be fantastic. It would also be great if you have a smaller chapter like a Shawnee Community College, a Rend Lake, a John A. Logan. These are all in southern Illinois. Carbondale can coordinate with them. We'll help you out, and that's a way to get everybody involved, because a 30-person chapter probably shouldn't be hosting a Zoom call if you only get 10% of people to join. But those 3 would be happy to hop on with maybe the other 10 people from Carbondale or the 1 person from John A. Logan. So there's many tools now for us to get started, and that doesn't even get in our ways to contact members and non-members alike through features like Prop Fuel. I won't get too lost in the weeds, because Brian Sodi will be talking about this here at the next breakout session coming up. Yes.
Question. One thing that came up, and this is how I joined SUAA, was because of Dick Simpson, and he used to be the landlord for a friend of mine. That's another story.
Yeah.
But what he brought up was, hey, we can work on giving you guys a list of constituencies of your SUAA members. Like, we live in Lake County, so hey, I'd like to know if there's 1,000 people that I could say to my state rep and state senator, by the way, we'd like to talk to you about some issues, and there's like 1,000 people that are really want to know about information that we're going to discuss. Is that feasible? To get that mailing information?
Not necessarily for all 1,000 people, let's say, in the district.
Yeah, I just exaggerated it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we can certainly, we can go, when I say we, I mean SUAA. We can contact all of our members in a district. We can break it down by district. And another piece of information we have, which is helpful if you are wanting to stress how an action could affect SERS participants in the district. There is information provided by SERS it's on their website. It'd take a while to find it, but we have that to know how much money is in that district, how many SERS participants are in that district, how many millions of dollars are coming through that district, through the SERS system.
That's been a good dialogue with legislators in terms, it's not all SUAA members, but I don't have a higher ed institution in my district. Yes, but you have X number of retirees in your district. Also, when they hear retirees, they know seniors. Seniors vote. That's
Yes.
why, that also
Yes.
gets their attention.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So, yeah, just to underscore Thomas's point about Dick Simpson. Dick has, been a political scientist and politician for decades and has developed a kind of a script for these sorts of meetings, which can be a good jumping off point if you're not sure, like, what do I say to these people? And he's also happy to reach out and help you if you want to do something in your chapter along the lines that Thomas has described. And he's at simpson@uic.edu. So it's a very simple email. Yeah, just want to kind of share that.
Thank you.
Rich, you wanted to say anything?
Go ahead, you got a question here, comment here?
Has there been any improvement in the receptivity of the presidents of the higher ed locations? Last we knew, maybe only 3 or 4 SUA delegates had good working relationships, cooperation from the president. And shouldn't the presidents and administrations of where we work be involved in the process of pushing our issues?
Well, absolutely. We'd love to have as many presidents of these institutions as we can. I mean, that is where we really rely on the local chapters, though, to make it a point of meeting with those officials with the schools and the universities, and really stressing the importance of joining.
Just to
Jim.
piggyback on that, that's not always really as feasible as you would think it would be, connecting with administration on your campuses. And I would think what you're asking is for maybe a collaborative effort between the chapter and the state office and all of you to help facilitate that. Is that what I was hearing?
Yes, for the most part. I just want to know if there's been any improvement. Has anybody in here had a better receptivity from the president than you did 2 years ago? No, there's a few.
Well, Pat, excuse me. Pat Asher, how did you get that done? I remember a couple of years ago I spoke at JJC. I think you had the president of your school join SUAA. How'd that come about?
I just spoke with him, talked to him, sent him a letter, and he's been since very active.
Yeah.
I think
So we'll send Pat to all your schools.
No,
No.
I think we've reached out. We have reached out. We've invited new presidents to come to our meetings and to join, and that hasn't happened. Randy Dunn was the last one who has done it.
Survey chapters, get best practices.
Yes, I mean,
so
we could. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I say yes. We could survey the chapters, see what kind of relationship that they have with their president. I mean, if they're saying no, then they're saying no. I mean, you can always continue to push. I think our greatest strength is going to be getting our numbers from those employees and retirees, and once the numbers go up, that's when you get the. And Brian will speak more about our membership growth. Yes, Sandy.
I do have an idea. Can we give the administrations complimentary memberships? So and send them our stuff?
Sure, we
So
did.
that they will stop with this year union?
Oh, God. Well, yeah, they certainly shouldn't, think, I know that's been a problem. I know specifically at Parkland, they've had issues thinking that not letting them meet on campus and thinking of the reunion. Yes, if you think a complimentary membership work, we're not going to oppose that if that's going to get a foot in the door. I mean, that is where the local chapter can get creative to find ways to encourage their leadership to
local
join.
chapter? I think that's a SUAA administration.
Well, we're not, again, talking about how it matters to legislators to speak to their constituents. We in Springfield aren't going to contact somebody at Rock Valley and go, hey, President, you got to join. We have a chapter there. They're going to go, why aren't your chapter members talking to me about this? I mean, it's a localized thing, yes.
But
We have someone to pay. So.
we can,
Lose that money.
we can reach out to see what tactics other chapters have used to get engagement from their president and share those with everyone.
But certainly, Sandy, bring that up. I would say also that this is another, was talking about membership growth that Brian will be bringing up, I believe, after that. That's another one.
Our president not only joined, the new president, but became a supporting member.
Oh, wow.
Kudos to her.
I don't think, there's one question, because I want to make sure Rich gets this.
I've got a question. Survey your chapter and find out how much money they're donating to the university. And let the president know that it doesn't take much money to get their attention. As to, if you, well, this is an organization and our members are donating back to the university through scholarships and athletics and everything else, X amount of money. Don't you think you ought to be conversing with us if you want that? That's your power. Money is power.
Well, the foundation is a whole other conversation.
Yes, but the
Rich,
president.
But they listen to the foundation.
Now listen to the money.
Actually, I can add something on this subject because we did ask our current president to join. We invited him to a meeting, and he did join right away. And actually, he encouraged some others on campus to join. And the other thing too, since the foundation came up, actually my kind of registration to come to this conference and meeting is paid by the EIU Foundation. And again, it's a mutually beneficial matter for them because they know that we also are going to be more friendly to the foundation. We contribute to scholarships, etc. So in the end, they end up benefiting financially. And just a couple other things to note too, relative to my involvement in this committee and legislation in general, is that some year, not too many years ago, there was sort of a general perception that colleges and universities should not really kind of cooperate with each other and one another on issues, that it should be all centralized within the SUAA office. That obviously is no longer the case. That perception is really kind of disappearing. And I'll give you an example of the kind of benefits of that, and that on the infamous trail issue from not too many years ago, back in fall 2022. It was through our institution, our representatives partnering with the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana and also Parkland and ISU that we were able to help get the attention of Senator Chapin Rose. And Senator Chapin Rose, if anyone knows anything about him, he's kind of a junkyard dog when it comes to speaking his mind. And he definitely got the attention of the legislature. So there are opportunities to partner. Something also too, since I mentioned Chapin Rose, is that it was also noted connections to institutions. Chapin Rose looks very friendly upon EIU because his mother was a long-term employee of EIU, and he knows a lot of people. And when it comes to issues related to Medicare Advantage, he knows some of the people who actually are facing issues. And the other thing too, finally I'll note, is that some of our institutions actually have legislative liaisons. We have one, Katie Anselman. She works for the institution. She represents the interests of the institution. However, we invite her to one of our meetings to speak once a year. And so she also gets the attention of our chapter.
Well, thank you, Rich. It's almost time for us to get out of here. Is there any last question, one final question? Oh, Bob, you want to speak?
He's a
a former elected official, this may go for an hour.
I'll be brief. I know that we're close to our time, but I just wanted to say that, so I'm a new member of the Legislative Committee, and it's been great to work with the group, and we've had a great discussion, a lot of issues discussed we could go on about, but I just would want to re-emphasize, we talk about our leadership at our universities being involved with our chapters. And I know at U of I, we have a quarterly meeting or periodic meeting, and last meeting we had the provost. He came, and I think we do our group does a really good job of getting a lot of awareness about what's happening at SUAA. But I really feel like, just as a former legislator, just sort of think about this organizationally. So SUAA is going to be your face at the Capitol. That's their job. They're knocking on doors, they're pounding the marble floors. And what we need to do as chapters is think of us as advocates. Think of ourselves as advocates for the issues that we think are really important. And go visit our legislators as chapters. And it's the power in every chapter doing that, and we cover virtually the entire state, that is going to really resonate in Springfield, so that when they knock on somebody's door, they'll say, oh yeah, you guys from Parkland were here, or the folks from SIUE, they're like relentless on this issue, so I'm hearing you, and that's really what you want to have happen. But then the other thing I would say is there's a whole list of issues that are pending. We're going to have another contract on health insurance that's going to come up. We need to get ahead of the curve and decide how to prevent the debacles that occurred during the last situation a few years back with when they switched to Aetna, and some of the challenges that we're now having. So, this hearing is an opportunity to bring some of those up and continue to raise the awareness of legislators and say, hey, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to do this again. We're going to have some input into this, and we expect you to be our voice. And they will be our voice if we want them to be. But I think it's important that each chapter prioritize issues that are really important to you, so that you can let SUAA and our legislative committee know what our agenda should be in Springfield and DC. A lot going on in DC that is just not in the best interests of higher ed. But we have a great group here. I've known Matt Maloney for many, many years, does a great job here for you and Brian and Thomas. It's great to work with you. And we have a great committee, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'll just add the quick antidote to Bob's point. It felt pretty darn good when I had to meet with Sharon Chung, who I've never met before, to ask her to sign off on HR 89, Service Retiree Appreciation Day, and I say, oh, I'm with the State Universities Annuitants Association. She goes, oh, I know SUAA. I was at their chapter meeting. You guys are great. Ooh, okay. They're not really on. So, my gosh, that 50 minutes went really fast. I will be around after I call my mother back. So please, if you have any questions or anything, come talk to us. Thank you so much. This was a great attendance. I'm very impressed and appreciative for everybody showing up. So thank you again, and let's continue to have a great conference.